Welcome back to Nick Lynch's Comic Corner Classic slash Non-Classic. This is episode number 555 in Doublehsot 461. One Batman trade, one Wonder Woman trade. First up it is Batman Shadow of the Bat, Volume 3. This trade collects issues 24 to 31, issue 0, and number 2 of the Batman Shadow of the Bat series. All issues written by Alan Grant. Yep, Alan Grant. Brian Sturvlees does the cover for this trade and all of the covers in the actual series, which is amazing. The fact he actually did it for that long. Now, here are the artists, here are the interior artists who did all the issues in this trade. You have Brett Reliefs, Bob Smith, Ben Scarno, John Beatty, Tim Roney, Joe Stanton. I believe this. No, this is not the art for Deathstroke. And Hariko Olani. Now, mostly put, some of the early issues in this trade are just part of the Nightfall stuff. Pretty much that's all it is, just Nightfall stuff. With John Paul Valley as, of course, well, as Batman. He's in here for the first few issues. There's an issue featuring Joe Public. There's also a couple issues for the third and fourth Clayfaces. Well, the third Clayface and Lady Clayface, who fall in love and have a kid. And he comes up with the name of the kid, and the wife is a little surprised because it's a boy. They call him Cassius after Cassius Clay, aka Muhammad Ali. Interesting name, though this is before he was discovered to have the same powers as his parents. Yeah, I'm like, okay. It's interesting though that Lady Clayface fell in love with the third Clayface, especially since the last woman he fell in love with was turned into ash because when he touched her, because he was he had very deadly touch. Apparently, whenever he touches Lady Clayface, it doesn't really bother her at all, which is really bizarre. hmm But I gotta say, all the issues in here are fantastic. The last issue is just an Elseworld story. It's just, well, Batman being manipulated. I think it's by the Mad Hatter, I think it is. And then at the end, it's like he turns the whole. And apparently, he's like, also, he's like very gruntled. He's, uh, the way this Batman is portrayed in here, this version of Batman, it's kind of like Thomas Wayne Batman, except that he doesn't use guns. He's very scruffy looking. He looks like he hasn't shaved like a week, and then later on he turns against the public by admitting that he was one poisoning them all, and they burn out his mansion. Yep. But aside from that, everything here is fantastic. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. It's a really good book. Not much else to say, but it is just fantastic. And I do recommend this basically if people are fans of not only Batman, but also Clayface and Alan Grant himself, because I'm sure there are Alan Grant fans out there. But he's one writer I've never heard anybody talk about. I've heard talk about Chuck Dixon. Yeah, I've heard talks about him, Doug Moak, but not Alan Grant, because people thought he was weird. If you read Shadow of the Bat, it's an awesome comic book. I'm a little surprised that out of all the Batman comics that came out in the 90s, this is the one that doesn't get much light to it at all because, oh, it's Shadow of the Bat. It's a spin-off book of Batman. So, yeah, that could explain why he left the book after 82 issues and had the last year of the book done by Chuck Dixon. Maybe because he didn't get a lot of love, or maybe because that's as far as he wanted to go with it. He's probably one of the very few writers I've actually heard of who actually saved his book for that long period of time. Alright, next up is The Legend of Wonder Woman Origins. Excuse me. Now, this is the second Legend of Wonder Woman series because I found out there was an original volume for the series published back in the 1980s, written by Kurt Busiek. Yep, he did the original one in the 1980s. This one's done by Renee D. Liz, who does the writing and artwork, does the writing, and Ray Dillon does the artwork herself. Simply put, this is a Elseworld miniseries for Wonder Woman. It's like still set in World War II. That was interesting art style, and of course the costume looks very much like the way it did before, not what looks like a swimsuit, where it looks like, well, where she has a skirt and her top is pretty much the same. The interesting thing about her top, when it comes to, well, her symbol on her chest, yeah, that actually remained as part of her logo up until Jerry Conway did the book in the 1970s. Yes, I've read all the issues of Wonder Woman. But the Golden Eagle is a very iconic look, and I do appreciate the artist who did this miniseries. It's like this woman was a huge fan of basically like World War II era Wonder Woman, not like the goofy stuff Golden Age was associated with. Now, I should point out, though, that this miniseries was originally published as a digital comic book. Yep. Yeah, one of many DC comic books basically published digital comic. Now, printing wise, this was a 9-issue miniseries. Yep. Now, as for how many chapters this published, yeah, these are 27 chapters over the course of 9 issues. So, 3 chapters an issue. That's my personal guess. Of course, you have appearances by Duke of Deception, and of course Steve Trevor. Eda Candy pops up in here. It's a really cool little mini-series. I mean, if you're a fan of Wonder Woman, I do recommend it. And not much else to say. It's just a traditional Wonder Woman story. It's kind of like they kind of, well, put Wonder Woman in the World War II setting, but kind of mixed into some stuff that was seen in the film Pearl Harbor. But yeah, not much else to say about this particular miniseries. It's good, and, well, Eda Candy is simply put, well, the way she's written in the series, it's kind of like how she's written in the Golden Age. Very upbeat, a little bit overweight, and, well, one thing they do not have her do, and now, apparently it's filled in here that Eda Candy comes from a rich family who own a resort, and they use an unauthorized. They basically use they did not get permission to publish an ad with her picture in it, an old picture of her from when she was younger. Now, what about the whole recurring thing with Eda Candy in World War II era eating candy? No, despite the fact she is a bit overweight, she is not shown eating candy because if you read her the Golden Age stuff, she eats candy a lot. Luckily enough, they have changed it where she's part of the military. Thank frickin' God for that. As for this miniseries itself, it's really good. Feels like a very good Wonder Woman story, and it kind of maybe has served as somewhat of inspiration for the Wonder Woman film that came out last year, because I kind of felt this though with a little bit of elements here and there of the Wonder Woman film. Though Eda Candy was definitely in that film, which she gotta had to be because that's the thing with Wonder Woman. You gotta have Eda Candy around. Oh, if you want to know what Eda Candy looks like this in this miniseries, that's her in the blonde hair. Yeah, well, I gotta praise the artist for giving her her World War II era comic book look. A woman who is a bit overweight, but it's not exactly a big thing about her. There's a nod to the Holiday Girls thing, which, yeah, those are a group of girls they hung out with who basically were longtime supporting characters of Wonder Woman in the Golden Age. There's a nod to them, but they're not exactly part of the story. But overall, this is by far a great miniseries. I do recommend it. I'm going to give this book a 9.5 out of 10. It's really good. Alright, that's really it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is going to be episode 556, Doublehsot number 462, which, excuse me, I'm going to review a couple books that collect Golden Age stuff for Batman, and here's a surprise, Wonder Woman. Yep, you'll find out my thoughts on those books in the next episode. Okay? But until I see you all there, bye.